If you're actually fulfilling all of your own orders and managing the sales and marketing and managing the different product types and the different SKUs and everything that goes into growing a brand, it's almost impossible to manage in a way that's not sacrificing your mental health or your family time in order to have a successful company.
And now I have to figure out how to market it, and I've got to continue to ideate and come up with new products to stay relevant or new marketing to stay relevant to continue to scale the business. There's all this front end work and mental gymnastics that I have to do as a founder and a creative and somebody that has this business. It's like, okay, now what questions do I need to ask? What should this actually cost me? Like, who is the best partner?
You have this hunger and passion when you're starting this company and brand that gets lost when you're trying to manage both sides of the business. And that's what we see all the time, is the operations side of it is not the sexy part of the business, nor should it be. But it's, in my opinion, the most important, because it's consumer experience. Is the product right? Is it shipped correctly? Are they getting it in a timely manner and the correct product? So in a growing brand, it just makes sense to utilize an expert at what they're good at.
Yeah, I think when you look at a lot of successful brands these days, the one thing that they have in common is the fact that they invest in the right strategic partnerships when it comes to scaling. So whether it be your manufacturing side, whether it be your product development side, whether it be your sales and marketing team, the operations side is there as well. So being able to invest into strategic partnerships that will allow you to scale on the operations side will allow you to focus on other areas of the business that would allow you to scale further.
And keep their passion. It usually whatever they're good at. They could be amazing at marketing. They could be amazing at the sales part of it. Or maybe their passion is creating new SKUs or different colors for apparel or whatever it is, their design. And that's what they excel at. And more often than not, the founders and entrepreneurs that tap into their passion and hand off everything else, they're more successful. To me, it's like when I dropped off my kid at daycare for the first time, or to their first pre-K, you have that internal fear of handing over what's your most precious. And a lot of times the brands, they have this, like that's their child that they've been growing. And then they're almost fearful or scared to hand it over to an operator because they're worried that it's not going to be done the way that they've been doing it themselves. But then it's also a question of like, okay, is the way that I've been doing it myself the correct way? So they have to have that internal dialogue and the fear of handing over something that's so meaningful to them. And there has to be some inherent trust with that 3PL warehousing operator before they do that.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head. Trust and comfortability level are key when it comes to choosing the right partners. And that goes hand in hand with the vetting process of your 3PL partner. It's a very elongated, painful process. It's very, very difficult to determine which 3PL is going to be the best fit for you. So I think that, having a trusted partner that could come in and help you with that process is what's really going to be key to, number one, speeding up the process, and number two, making the right decision when it comes time to make that decision.
I think there's a lot of fear with brands of like, if Amazon doesn't have it figured out, what 3PL does, right? So I think with us, not only do we look at the culture fit of a brand, we're very specific in our vetting process to niche down where there's less fear going into that handoff of your product, because we've already gone through the vetting process. They already handled the commodity.
We're actually speaking to their operators. We're actually seeing their facilities. We're talking to their staff firsthand. We're seeing how they operate. We're seeing how their customer experience is with their brands.
The good 3PL operators, the ones that we want to work with, right, understand that they're an extension of that brand and that their ability to perform at a high level directly reflects the brand's bottom line. And like you said, if they're not comfortable with B2B shipments and they fall down on that part of the business, they can do the D2C stuff really well, direct to consumer. It's like, do you have medical devices that need to be refurbished and sent back out? There's only a certain number of 3PLs that can help you do that and do it well. Like, that shouldn't just go to anybody.
And when you're talking about the ICP, it's not just the operations side of thing, it's the relationship side. So the 3PL and the brand being transparent up front and saying, hey, how do you problem solve? How do you communicate? How do you deal with these issues? 3PLs are human. Brands are human. Everybody's going to make errors at the end of the day. But how do you overcome those errors? How do you problem solve? How do you communicate? And so that's the key relationship aspect of things that a lot of people miss out on, is how is the relationship going to be with the brand? The operations side, the numbers, that is what it is. But the relationship side of things, is it the right fit for the 3PL further, not just the product type and the order type and the commodities and such.
For the people we love talking to, which is brands and 3PLs, again, they're founders, they're entrepreneurs, they're creators, they're typically driven and motivated to continue to perform. So that even if they reach that, what they thought was their greatest accomplishment, it's like, okay, what else am I capable of?
I think as founders, business owners, you have a long list of things that you worry about, and it gets longer and longer as you grow. And I think that, an area of true success would be finding a peace of mind when it comes to certain line items on your list. So if you could provide true value and be able to offer a peace of mind to a founder or a business owner when it comes to their fulfillment of their products, when it comes to everything, every aspect regarding the supply chain process, I think that would be success.
When you first have an idea, you don't really think about the hopes and dreams. It's just an idea. And then when you reach out to a manufacturer, or you do a little bit of R&D, research and discovery, and you realize, okay, this is an opportunity for me to create something, and then it turns into a real product, they hope that it will reach the masses because it's a great idea and it's a great product and they love it, right? And then I think that hope then turns into a reality, and then what comes after that reality, that's when you really think about the scalability, the employees, every different person that is getting that product. It all has a human reaction to it. You have your employees that you're looking out for. You have the end consumer that is using your product and loves your product, or it's their favorite shirt or their favorite pair of shoes. Every different human touch point, I think they would dream and hope that it's something meaningful in their life.
Everybody's hopes and dreams are different. For some, it may be spending time with more family. For some, it may be spending more time with friends. For some, it may be growing a business.
And I've always believed and bought into the mantra of, like, the more you can make other people successful, the more successful you will be, which is, I think, what you touched on as well, and kind of where we see ourselves is like, how do we help people get as successful as possible in their journey, whether they're a brand or a 3PL operator.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, they could do it on their own, right? They could reach out to 50 different 3PL fulfillment companies across the country and figure out, hey, is this a good fit for my growing brand? I mean, if let's say you're an electronics company and you reach out to 50 different 3PLs and only 3 of them currently handle electronics. Okay, that's 47 calls that you had and endless emails back and forth, right? So we've already gone through that process. So we're essentially not only helping facilitate, but also speeding up the process of helping them reach their goals and dreams at a faster rate, but really more efficient. And we're a non-biased company, so we're going to do the vetting process of the 3PLs prior, and we're going to make sure that they can handle your commodity. So instead of making 50 calls, you only have to make 1 call to us and have that non-biased trust factor already built in.
Yeah, if you've found yourself in this position where I've grown and now I've outgrown my current fulfillment solution, and oh shoot, I've got more product on the way, and if that product lands, like, I'm going to be buried. Myself or my fulfillment partner is going to be buried. I may not have the time to call 50 different partners and wait to have conversations and to travel to their facilities to see if they're a good fit or not. Like, sometimes brands will let things stack up until it's almost like, now I'm really on a time crunch. And if I don't get a solution quickly, I might really be in some trouble. So we would love to catch people earlier in that process, help them avoid those pitfalls that they may not see coming. It's like, you've got 2 containers coming across the ocean and you're currently 2 weeks behind on your current fulfillment, and now you got to get more inventory in and sorted and and labeled and everything else, like you're going to find yourself in a world of hurt. And that's the entrepreneur's journey, the founder of the brand. We definitely can intervene much earlier in that process and help them walk through, okay, what's happening? Where's your real pain coming from? And maybe we can find a solution with their current fulfillment. Or maybe it requires going out and finding an alternate solution.
I think not only that, but what, in my opinion, is worse is making the 50 different calls. 3 of them handle your commodity, and you at least think they handle your commodity. And then you end up onboarding with this company, and they don't know how to do batching. Or you find out quickly that, hey, you know what, maybe they can't handle my commodity. Say you're 6 months into the operation when you've already transitioned from either your garage or another fulfillment company. In my opinion, that's worse because you found a solution that's wrong for you or wrong for your company. So reaching out to us early on in that discovery, you have a trust factor, or you have the 3PL Bridge team set over 70 years operations experience, really digging through your program and saying, okay, you know, this fulfillment company is going to be a good fit. And then really when you onboard, you're working with that operator for 15, 20 years instead of, 3-4 months, you're looking for another solution.
Yeah, and I think I like what you said about the non-biased opinion. I think as a lot of business owners will tend to say, hey, I have the capability to do this. I have the capability to do B2B. I have the capability to do D2C. I could do bulk. I could do small parcels. I can do cross-dock. I can do transloading, the whole 9 yards. And so dealing with a non-biased company such as ourselves really gives the brand an advantage, and us being able to say, hey, these are capabilities, but is it their specialty? When you're talking about capabilities, everybody has a ton of capabilities, but they have very few specialties. And the difference in a capability and a specialty is night and day difference when you're talking about efficiency, when you're talking about cost, when you're talking about the quality of service. So for us to be able to say, hey, this is this 3PL specialty and not just a capability is what really sets it apart.
And if 3 months, 6 months in, you're like, oh man, I made a mistake. Now you're legally bound potentially, right? So that could get challenging for the brand to navigate. And you're going to have some hard conversations potentially with the 3PL and say, hey, look, I think we both agree that we're not working here. Is there any way that we can separate peacefully without any further damages that you've caused me or that I've potentially caused to you? Like the 3PL doesn't want that, and the customer obviously doesn't want that from the 3PL. Step 2 is like, okay, now I have inventory here. I've got inventory coming in. What do I do next? How do I get it out of here? Typically what would happen is the brand is going to have to wind down with that 3PL with the inventory that they have there and start shipping their new inventory to a new provider that they've now found. The cost to doing all of that would be a little bit incalculable. I mean, not meaning that it's going to be so exorbitant, but there's a lot of hidden costs associated with making that change from one partner to another. And that's why what Jordan said is like the ideal outcome is you find a fulfillment partner, a 3PL that can handle your good, can scale with you, can continue to do whatever your business demands. Right now you might have 5 SKUs and in 2 years you've got 20 SKUs and now you're doing kitting. So do they have the capabilities to grow with you? And, we want our brands to be able to stick with a 3PL for 5 years, 10 years, 15 years and beyond. That will help them maintain their margins.
Depending on the size of the brand, it could cripple your whole business if you choose the wrong 3PL. I mean, we've seen larger brands, their whole yearly P&L can be ruined by selecting the wrong 3PL. So it's extremely important that you choose the right operator for your business. When done correctly, you can scale at a way that you didn't even think was possible. But if you choose the wrong one, then it's going to be the reverse effect. So,
yeah. And I think something that a lot of brands don't think about is if you select the wrong 3PL, it's not just a monetary dollars and cents type deal that you can calculate. It's a long-term effect. You've got clients that are not receiving their products on time. You've got clients that are not receiving the product at all, or you have clients that are getting their product damaged, etc., losing inventory. It's something that will affect the brand long-term. It'll affect how the brand is perceived from a consumer outlook. It'll also stunt your growth. And it's something that's very, very hard to recover from long term. Brand has worked very hard in acquiring these clients and creating a repeat client atmosphere. and type experience that will lead to growth. And it's up to the 3PL to maintain that and help accelerate that. And if they're not doing their part, like Jordan touched on, it could cripple the brand long term.
Yeah, I mean, we've already made the thousands of different calls with the 3PL operators. We've already vetted them. We've already weeded out the ones that are not a good fit for growing brands. They're really good at what they do, and they're not able to take on brands that can scale or just different types of commodities. So we've already gone through the vetting process.
Yeah, I think what's unique is there's a lot of big guys out there, and potentially as a brand, if you select one of those big guys, they kind of are, we do everything for you. You're just like another cog in the wheel. You lose that personal touch and kind of maybe lose your brand a little bit if you plug into a big guy. For us, we try and match up. The brands that we work with are SMBs. The 3PLs we work with are SMBs. We really focus on making sure that the 3PL understands who their ideal customer is, and that aligns with their capabilities and their specialties. And we want also that same thing for a brand to understand who they are, what stage they're at, what do they need at this stage of growth. And again, we've talked about it, like partnering up with someone that can grow with them. I don't know that there's anyone that puts the amount of attention, emphasis, and detail on being so intent that the brand and the 3PL are a great fit for each other. You could submit your information on a bunch of forms. You can get connected, to 3PLs. That part's easy. And then at that point, you're just on your own again. Like you're as a brand, you're having to figure out, am I asking the right questions? Like, do these answers make sense? Do these rates make sense? When you look at this every day, day in and day out, like we do, it makes that whole process so much simpler and getting the clarity so much faster, again, for the brand and the 3PL.
Yeah, I think what sets us apart is that we're actually helping guide brands not only to the right 3PL, but the right solution, whether it be the right location based on the outbound orders, based on the inbound, whether it be the type of product and where it needs to be located at, whether it be temp controlled per market. There's a lot of different factors that we will be able to help identify that will help the 3PL selection process and support it. It's not as easy as I want it in this market and this is the 3PL selection list. It's a whole bunch of different factors that go into it beyond just market selection. So I think with our subject matter experts in the field, it's a great asset to the brands to be able to offer that consulting service to help them make the right selection.
Yeah, they might think that, hey, my customers are all over the country and I want to get my product to them quickly, so I need distribution all over the country. So now I'm going to go and work with 5 different operators because I can't find one that has a location in each market that I'd like to be in. And that's just a brand owner making decisions they think are best for their business based on the information that they have, when in fact, they may not need to deal with 5 different operators. Like that could be a nightmare to deal with 5 different 3PLs and tracking all your inventory at 5 different 3PLs. And it's like, work with us and we'll actually look at your business, analyze your business, figure out what, from a distribution standpoint, what makes the most sense. Where are your customers? How quickly can we get them product and still achieve the goals that you want to achieve with less stress and confusion and management of dealing with multiple fulfillment partners?
You could do it on your own and you could be successful, but the likelihood of that is going to be a lot less, and it's going to be a lot more work and a lot more headaches to weed through the different warehouse options.
Off the top of my head, I can't think of a brand that's had to fire a 3PL or a 3PL that's had to fire a brand that we've done the work to connect those 2 parties together, which I think is a pretty strong statement.
I mean, no solution's perfect, but I do think that we're the only one. I know that there's other matchmaking services out there, but they're generally looking out specifically for the brand. And then you have these 4PL operators that are, the Ship Bobs and the Flexes and the Stores of the world, where they're looking out for the 3PL operator. So we're the bridge between the 3PL warehouse and the brand. And we're really creating win-win scenarios because it can happen in the industry. And that's when the brands have the most success, is a win-win scenario.
Yeah, I'd say like the proof is in the pudding. I think it's a scenario where when you talk about numbers wise, like Devin touched on, there's not been a single breakup that we can think of. And I think when you're talking about that success rate, it's key. And having others that have given positive feedback has always been night and day difference in working with us as opposed to working with a similar model.
Yeah, and I think what helps with that success rate is we're honest about who we are, what we do, and what the capabilities are that we have and the partnerships that we have. And I wish that we could help every single brand. Like, I have a deep love for entrepreneurs and somebody that's passionate about building something and want to be able to help every single one of those individuals out. And sometimes we can't. And we have to be truthful about that and potentially point people in other directions if, like, the solutions that we can provide aren't a good fit for where they're at right now. So, and it might be hard at that time for a brand to hear or for us to say, but if it's the right decision, it's the right decision. And it shouldn't be clouded by anything else. And so I think that helps with the overall success. We learn about your business, and if it looks like we can help you, we're gonna help you. If it looks like there's a better solution for you, we're gonna point you in that direction.
Yeah, I mean, some brands are working with warehouses who actually are being negligent on purpose with hidden fees, or they onboard a brand and they have small parcel rates and they're not fully transparent, and the brand forgets to ask, what are your surcharges, or what is your delivery fees for residential fees? And they see the rates from other 3PL operators who didn't include that either. So I think there's a lot of questions that need to be asked that sometimes the brands forget or don't even know that they need to ask. So we help them through the RFP process and make sure that each box is checked. So that way they onboard with the 3PL and there's no hidden fees and there's no upcharges or there's no hidden fees with the small parcel rates. So man, it's got to be at least 20-25% of the brands that we talk to are currently unhappy with their current operator. And it could just be that they're just not a good culture fit. They just don't mess well with ownership or their account executive, or maybe, like you said, the 3PL is just too big for them and they're not getting the attention that they need. The 3PL is not being flexible. Their response time is 3 days by the time they get anything back from their customer service. So our operators are the medium-sized operators, bigger than the mom and pops. So you get the multi-node solution and you get a good tech stack, but they're not as big as the enterprise type 3PLs where you're just a number to them.
Yeah, when you think about broker, 4PL comes to mind a lot. Is, you know, hey, let me choose the cheapest 3PL option essentially, and then let me add a high layer of margin onto it and let me 4PL it out a lot of times. So the cool thing about our model is we're not a direct 4PL. We're not going to go and take your rates and mark them up and then try to sell them as is. So, you know, they'll control the billing, they'll control the communication, but they'll have zero input and operations handling of anything whatsoever.
What's the biggest 4PL you know?
It'd be ShipBob. Yeah. So I think when you're talking about 4PLs, it's a negative perception because of the fact that you're paying inflated rates, number one. You have an added layer of communication to where if you have an issue, you're not actually dealing with somebody that's directly on site with the operations that can handle your problem in real time. It's more so, oh yeah, I'll talk to operations, and it's an elongated communication process a lot of times. So,
and those account managers that they talk to are typically in another country, in a different time zone, not anywhere close to the facility, just relaying messages between you and the actual person you need to talk to. So that can get really frustrating really fast. And a lot of the brands that we talk to have experienced that. We want to guide our brands to make the best choice for their business to be successful. And we want our 3PLs to be successful. Like, the negative connotation associated with broker is a misalignment of values where brokers are just trying to fetch the highest price. Very different than how we operate. Again, as we've talked about, our goal is to make as many people successful as possible. And the more we can do that, the more successful that we will be. If we're just out there for a quick buck or to make the most off of a single project, we're going to get exposed really quickly and not reach the level of success that we're all motivated to reach.
Yeah, what we do is we really join arms with these brands and walk side by side with them, instead of being like an adversary where they reach out to a 3PL, they have their own agenda. The brand has their own agenda. They're sitting across from the table. What we do is we join arms with these brands and walk them through the RFP process and really check all of the boxes that go into selecting a 3PL. And then once we have their vision and understand their hopes and dreams, then we say, okay, this X fulfillment partner is going to help you accomplish those. And then we bring them all together as a team, the brand and the 3PL, to then join arms. Instead of being adversaries, they go into a relationship where they're walking side by side.
Yeah, I don't think there's many things that are more rewarding than getting that email from a brand saying, Dennis, man, you've saved me. Like, this has been such a better process than anything I've experienced before. I can't tell you how relieved I am to have this problem solved for me. I can't wait to work with you again on the next project that I have. Or we help a brand land with a great 3PL, and then they come back to you a couple months later and say, hey, I have this thing now, and you solve that problem in a day. Hey, I have this thing now, and you can solve that problem for them quickly.
Yeah, my favorite is when I reach out to brands that we've worked with in the past 3-4 years goes by, and we reach out and they still say how happy they are by their operator. Has it been 100% perfect? No. But was it way better than their previous solution? Absolutely. We're solving a problem with a solution that is a win-win for the 3PLs and the brands.
Yeah. And when you think about broker, the negative connotation that goes with it is essentially, when you think of broker, you think of just pure transaction. It's just, okay, here's the information. Here you go. Boom. There's your solution. That's it. With us, it's actually taking an interest in the business, getting more detailed information, having a more thorough process, and actually taking interest in the brand's long-term success, and not just completing a transaction. It's actually taking a consultant partnership type role in the business to be able to help them be successful long-term.
Yeah, how often do large brands reach out to us who have their CFO that are just price-driven? It's all about cost. We open a door that says, hey, maybe you should look at the bigger picture and say, if you want to save 10 cents an order, that's amazing. But think about the lifetime value of all your customers and your repeat customers, and you're missing out on the thousands of reorders because you're trying to save that 10 cents on an order. Think about the bigger picture and find that operator who may not be the cheapest, who is very competitive, market competitive in their price, but really give you that service level and the efficiency and the order accuracy that's going to help you scale and have that repeat customer come back.
Yeah, with the cheapest, what are you getting? You may be getting a building that has a faulty roof. The real estate costs were low enough to where somebody can have these bottom of the barrel rates, and you have potential product damage because you got a bad ceiling on your building that your product is stored in. Maybe they can't afford to pay their people enough for them to care about to close the bay doors every night, and you have all your inventory exposed inside a facility because the people are not paid well and they don't really take pride of ownership in their job. Cheapest becomes a very scary proposition for a lot of brands, and if you want to watch money evaporate quickly, sometimes choosing the cheapest option is the right way to have that happen. But most people don't want to see money evaporate quickly. So it's like you need to make sure that you have pickers and packers that care about getting your product delivered in a timely manner and in a good condition. You want to make sure that the building is secure, that operators in there are knocking over racks with their forklifts because they're in whatever kind of state of mind, right?
Yeah, I mean, we're not oblivious to the fact that this economy is not doing that great right now. The tariff situation, inflation, the cost to move goods on containers is very, very volatile right now. So we're not oblivious to how important cost is, but there's more to it that just goes into the warehousing and fulfillment cost that we help guide these brands in making their selection. And at the end of the day, if it does come down to cost and we're not the most cost effective, our 3PL operators will make a decision if it's right for them to lower the cost in order to work with that brand.
Yeah, I think when you're talking about costs, an advantage that we have as a group is understanding how 3PLs operate, understanding their margins, understanding their cost. And so being able to communicate with a brand and say, hey, this is a realistic expectation for this market. This is what you'll see for this. You know, there are a lot of 3PLs out there essentially saying, hey, I'll take this at a loss or I'll take this at cost to essentially just try to help fill a gap space. And so being able to help a brand realize the realness of the situation and what the 3PL is going through, and to help them understand and say, hey, this is a solid rate for the market, but this is also what your 3PL partner needs to be successful long term. Do you want to partner with a 3PL that is going to be successful long term? Or do you want to go with an option that maybe they're the cheapest in the market, but the situation there's not the greatest? You may be searching for a 3PL partner in a few months.
Yeah, operating at a loss is a bad long-term strategy for sure. And what you talk about, Jordan, it's like, okay, I can pay 10 cents more per package that goes out potentially. And the trade-off for that is I get more repeat customers because they're happy with what they get. Or I pay 10 cents less and I lose 1,000 or 10,000 repeat customers because they're unhappy with how the product arrives, or it doesn't arrive in time, or doesn't arrive at all. Or I run into inventory issues because my 3PL doesn't communicate, and I have bad insight because their tech stack isn't where it needs to be for me to do proper inventory controls.
I think one of the biggest benefits of 3PL Bridge is that we don't operate our own warehouses, or we're not an operator. I know there's some other companies out there that operate their own warehouses and then pivot to other operators. And what we're offering is a non-biased North American, for now, vetted partners, consulting company who works with select few vetted warehouse operators in every single market based on niche, based on commodity, based on location, services, everything that goes into the RFP process. And again, it kind of goes back to these companies are reaching out to 3PLs directly, and they're getting sold to. And so what we do is walk them through the RFP process and give them a select few options of what's going to be a good fit for their brand.
Yeah, I think that allows us to give us the flexibility of having an unbiased opinion when it comes to the consulting / matchmaking process. It allows us to sit back and say, okay, what's truly the best fit? What's the best fit for the operation, for the relationship, for the brand long term? And to be able to confidently say that we're 100% unbiased allows us to give the true best option available, and not just the only building that a 3PL may have in that market at the time.
Yeah, with the value we're trying to bring to the market, it wouldn't make sense for us to own and operate 3PL Bridge warehouses. We would have to be a massive company to be able to facilitate all the brand requirements that we look at every single day, every single week, right? It would be impossible for us to do that. So we have Canada, US, Mexico that have been thoroughly vetted. We trust them. We know their capabilities. And for the hundreds of requirements we look at every quarter, we have to connect those brands with those requirements to other operators. It's the only way to do what we want to do.
Yeah, I think it's the best of both worlds, right? We have the footprint for pretty much any type of program or project. And we're not a middleman, aka a 4PL, where we're just another layer. We don't own and operate our own warehouses, and we're not a middleman. So we walk you through the RFP vetting process. So you're going to get the dedicated customer support who's on site in the warehouse with our partners. And that's just going to give you that high touch point and high customer service that you're looking for, and the flexibility and the versatility that you need as a scaling brand. And you're not going to be put in a box to say, hey, no, you have to do it this way because you're just another number.
Yeah, we'll check in, but you don't have to go through us to get answers to your questions. You'll speak directly with the 3PL.
Walk you through the RFP process, the onboarding process, making sure that the first 6 months is golden, and then we take a step back.
I think we obviously could be a one-call solution for a brand. They could just talk to us and go through this process with us and get paired with a phenomenal 3PL that can grow with them for 20 years. That is a realistic outcome for brands. And we would love someone to trust us enough to do that. And at the same time, we realize that this is a big decision for businesses that are growing. There's a lot that they have thought that they would want to put into this. And I would encourage any brand to go out into the market and see what's available to them. And they can go do that journey themselves and see what kind of results or outcomes or rates that they get going through that process and compare. And again, one, or do they even hear back from anybody? Like, that's a common complaint that we hear from brands. Like, I've reached out to 10 3PLs, and you guys are the first company that's actually called me back. Like, this is terrible. So can they actually make progress on their own? And if they do successfully, yeah, let's look at rates. Let's talk about it. Let's see what makes sense. Let's see where hidden fees may be. And if you're presented with something that may be too good to be true, let's look at that. There's a lot of clever ways to bury line item fees on invoices that the brand pays for later. And generally, I think we're able to negotiate, if you want to say negotiate, more favorable pricing just right out of the gate for the brand, because the 3PL knows us. Like, they know that we're going to bring them good qualified customers, and they're going to give us the most favorable pricing right up front to try and win that business, because they know that we bring them good business and good qualified brands.
It also comes back to the subject matter expertise area. Us having that 3PL experience, these 3PL operators understand that. They know that. We know what the market conditions are. We know what the market rates are when it comes to the operation side. We understand their cost. So them giving us a little bit more of a realistic rate, and knowing that we understand their business, knowing we understand the cost, knowing we understand what the margins need to be at, us having that expertise and that knowledge, they will give us the fair price up front.
Yeah, and also going back to the brand reaching out directly to the 3PL or to the sales rep there, the sales rep is going to sell you the moon. They're going to say, yes, we can do that. Yes, we can do that. Yes, we can do that. And really, when you look behind the curtains, no, they can't. So we've already looked behind the curtains on all these different operators. So you're truly getting a solution that is going to be a good fit for your brand. It's extremely hard for a 3PL operator to say no to business, especially in this economy. They were booming during COVID. They took on some additional warehouse space. They took the risk, and then now they have open capacity. And now they're saying yes to a lot of opportunities and brands that they shouldn't really be taking on. That's part of what we're building. We have to say no. We also have to have our ideal partners and ideal operators. We go through a vetting process, and at the end of the vetting process, we realize, hey, do you know what? This operator is not going to be able to fulfill the services that the brand is looking for. Then we just let them know, because we have to look out for the brand's best interest. And if there's an operator who is not doing well financially or is not doing well operationally, then they're just not a good fit for 3PL Bridge.
Yeah, I would say that we say no to more 3PLs than we say yes to. And it sounds bad, but when you think about it, we only want to work with the best of the best. We only want to work with those that can service the customer the right way. They have competitive rates. They're able to offer the solutions that the clients are needing. And we want to work with those specialists that we can match up with our clients in a perfect way. And there's a lot of good 3PLs out there, but there are very few great 3PLs out there. So those few 3PLs out there are the ones that we want to work with.
So there was an electronics company, and they brought in about 1,000 containers a year, and they were looking for a West Coast and an East Coast operator. And they ended up going with our 3PL operator due to the capabilities and the specialties. They had other 3PL operators that were lower in cost, but they didn't have any type of technology or integrations that was needed for the EDI. They did a lot of Home Depot programs, and they needed to receive and send out orders. And our operator had the integration capability. They were not the most cost effective, but they ended up working through 3PL Bridge because we went through that vetting process and making sure that they were the right operator.
They're also currently working with a brand right now, 100,000 orders a month. They went through the RFP process and included us in it. And talking with the 3PL selections and then our selection as well, I think they came to realize that, no, we're not the cheapest. We were a couple cents higher per order. But at the end of the day, after going and seeing the operation itself, after completing their own vetting process on top of ours, they saw that the 3PL partner that we selected for the project had the better tech stack. They were actually niche based for their commodity and not just capable of doing it. And so them seeing that we're actually making the selection and helping in that process based on what's the actual true fit for them. If you want your order shipped accurately, you want the best fit for your operation, and you want the best partnership long term, it usually means paying a couple of cents or a little bit higher rate more after they've reviewed all of the options and actually going on site and saying, hey, these guys' processes and their tech exactly what we're looking for in the partnership. I have a better feeling that they will handle our inventory more accurately. The orders are going to go out on time. They're going to go to the right customer. And we're not going to have the issues that we would have for someone that may be a little bit of a cheaper option.
Yeah, I think a brand needs to make enough to continue to invest in their business, and a 3PL needs to make enough to continue to invest in their business. If they don't have their pricing dialed in to where they're making enough to continue to invest in their business, whether that is adding tech to make sure that the orders come in and go out the way that they need to, they're adding staff to make sure the orders get picked and sent out the way they need to, they're adding equipment to make, there's the best operators, the best 3PLs think about things that way, right? They're not just trying to get revenue in the door. It's like, where do I need to be so that I can continue to invest in this business, make sure that the product is secure, that it gets out on time, that I can invest in tech, that I can provide the right equipment, take care of my staff. There's a lot of factors that go into how a 3PL gets to that rate, that the ones I think that are the cheapest, and maybe the brands that think that they need the cheapest, they're not considering everything when they take that point of view, potentially, right?
Yeah, so we had a toy company that reached out to us, and they had about 3,500 pallets. Their current 3PL operator was really good at e-com, direct to consumer, but they were starting to do more retail and B2B shipments, also wholesale shipments to like mom and pops, and broken case picks where they'd have to go and open the case and get individuals and then repack it to ship it to the wholesaler. And their current operation just wasn't set up to be successful there. So they reached out to 3PL Bridge, and we walked alongside them and found them a really good operator that could do the e-commerce and the business-to-business, true omni-channel solution for them. And then another concern was their current 3PL just wasn't set up for scalability and growth. They had about 2,000 pallets at the time, and they anticipated by the end of the year they'd scale to about 3,500 pallets worth of inventory. And we were able to set them up with an operator that was able to have racking in place and be able to scale with them. I think the fear of not being able to have the volume in sales kind of kept them up at night and wondering if they had the right solution in place for that next level of success. They were already in conversations with 3 other options. It was in the Los Angeles market, one of the most competitive, costly markets in the US. And we were able to provide them with a solution that offered drayage, transportation on the outbound, and omni-channel solutions for business to business and direct to consumer. Her hopes and dreams were to have a company that was able to provide for her family. And she was very passionate about the toy industry. She was very in tune with what was a hot commodity, what was a unique toy selection, because it wasn't just toys that you would play with. It's more of like intellectual learning toys that she was selling to all these different children all over the place. We vetted the 3PL operators and we were able to help her find a solution in less than a month. When we looked at their project scope and thinking who was going to be the best operator for her, at this point I got to know her as a founder and really thought about Kevin, who was the other owner operator of the 3PL. And I just knew that based on the culture of both companies, that they were going to be a really good partner together. And so I think that was the biggest driving factor on why they're being successful, is because both companies had very similar cultures and they just worked really well together.
And in that process, like, we would look at multiple potential partners for that brand operator. And again, this is really the value that we provide that no one else really can, is the level of trust and experience and information we gather from both the brand and the 3PL really set us apart to again make this cohesive long-term relationship. So today, now that she has a fulfillment partner that can do omni-channel, that can do her drayage, that can do all of her shipping for her, it's like the dream is still alive. It's like, okay, I sense of relief. I can continue to build this business. I can continue to bring new products to market. I can get those products into the kids' hands that love them so much. I have repeat customers. They get their goods. I would say it's a complete 180 from probably how she was feeling 6 months ago when she started this journey to where she's at today with the right kind of fulfillment partner by her side.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you're with the wrong 3PL operator, it keeps you up at night. The stresses of missed inventory, the stresses of missed shipments, customer satisfaction. I think having the right 3PL for your brand, of course, there's going to be instances where it's not perfect, but having her ability to be at home and being present with her kids is probably the most important thing to her. And having a good operator behind the scenes managing the inventory and getting the right shipments out is giving her the capability to be present with her family.
And if you look under the surface from somebody like that, yes, they want to have time with their family and these other types of things. What I think a great fulfillment partner really does for those brands is allow them to continue to work in what they're passionate about, and they get some of that passion back. And it's like,
exactly,
you lose that through this process of getting beaten down by fulfillment, getting product over here, getting product out to your customers. Like the grind of when the rubber meets the road of running a business and getting your product into somebody's hands is not as sexy and is not as fun as being creative and thinking of the next thing. That's where a lot of the brands get their energy from. And when you can just be like, okay, I don't have to worry about this stuff anymore. It's taken care of and I trust it. I can keep my energy over here on what I really am passionate about. Like that's the big unlock.
Yeah, I think when people have stress and anxiety in business or entrepreneurship, it's because of that feeling that they're not who they're called to be yet. So when you're able to take over the operations as a 3PL provider and you start a company, you're more passionate about that brand and growing and scaling and getting the product into more people's hands. And as a 3PL operator, you're able to help them do that more efficiently. So I like what you said is they're able to then tap back into that passion and their true calling. And then through that true calling, they're able to be more themselves and be more present for their family or live the life that they're called to be. And we help them accomplish that.
Tom's Shoes is a great example. And there was a lot of spin-offs of that where it was like, hey, I have this product, and with this product, I'm going to do good as well. And there was a good 10-year period where it's like a percentage of my profits are going to go towards this cause. It's almost that same kind of thing where everybody has business interests, and it's like, hey, this is my thing, and this is how I'm going to make a living, and here's what I'm passionate about personally, right? Whether that's a portion of my proceeds goes to feed starving people or to house homeless people or whatever that motivator is from a selflessness standpoint. If you're caught in the grind of just keeping your business alive because you have all these operational challenges and struggles, you've lost your ability to give. You've lost your ability to take care of others, provide for others. And I think human nature in our tribes and in our circles that we're in, we naturally have a tendency to want to take care of others. And if you're solely focused on yourself or your business because you're trying to just keep things alive, you're losing a part of your soul almost by being completely burdened with that 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
What's cool about 3PL Bridge is a lot of these 3PL owners, they're passionate about building their company. And so you have your brand who's passionate about building the company, who's not passionate about operating the company and the stuff that goes on behind the scenes in order to get the product to the customer. So what we do is we offer, hey, here's a passionate 3PL founder, here's a passionate brand, and they work together to basically accomplish both of their hopes and dreams.
And it's almost like couples and opposites attract, right? So it's like we're just helping these two opposites get together the right way, and they both need each other, and they create the right kind of dependency on each other and supplement in a positive way and help each other be successful, just like a good relationship would have that yin and yang type of balance to it.
He brought up a good analogy. It's like reach out to a 3PL as a brand. It's almost like a blind date. You meet them on the internet and you swipe right. And then, but with 3PL Bridge, it's more of like your best friend introduced you to someone. You have that inherent trust level that 3PL Bridge offers. I remember when I was reaching out to founders when I first started 3PL Bridge, and they're 1 to 2 years in to starting their company and they're starting to see some success. I say, hey, you know, have you thought about, you know, using a fulfillment company? And they're like, oh, we're doing it in-house. Oh, we love it. And then 2 years later, they reach back out to me and they say, hey, remember when we talked about the 3PL fulfillment solution? Yeah, we'd like to start that process. Because I think what happens is they lose the passion and they lose that grit over a while and the beatdown of managing the operations and trying to scale, because you're essentially doing two companies at the same time.
And I see my bank account growing because I'm getting them the stuff, and then 2 years later of doing that, you're like, this is draining me. Holy cow. Like it went from exciting and uplifting to like, man, this is too much. And I think the sweet spot is getting to outsourcing that before you get to that burnout period. So cool. We love that you're doing it on your own. And as soon as it stops being really exciting for you and starts feeling like work, you're losing the fire at that point. And that's when you should look at finding somebody to outsource that to.
Yeah, as soon as you lose that spark, or as soon as you start sacrificing sales, then it's a perfect time to reach out to us.
What will it cost me to not use 3PL Bridge?
You're talking about the growth that's stunted, customers that are lost. Can't really put a monetary value on that. You know, you could be the best in the world at marketing. You could be the best in the world at sales. You could be the best in the world at product development and creativity. And at the end of the day, if your clients don't get that product that you promised them, it doesn't make a difference of how good you are at everything else. So
this thought process is way above what it could have been if they selected the wrong 3PL. So you're offering them their future freedom. You're offering them their future company where they want it to be or where they envision it to be.
Yeah, I think the thing that I would want to make clear is like, this is one component of the business. It's critical, and it's critical that it's done right. Yes, it could crush your business if you have the wrong partner, and it can get really costly and really ugly if you select the wrong partners. And we can't fix an entire brand either. One of the valuable questions to continue to ask yourself, if you have a brand, where am I a little bit weak? And maybe I'm more creative and not operational. So cool, I'm going to outsource fulfillment to somebody that's very operational, can get that dialed in. But where else may I need to add leverage to my business to make sure that I can get to that outcome? Because fulfillment and getting that right, it's just one component, and we definitely can help get that part right. And again, we want to see you succeed, and we want the 3PL to succeed as well. And there's other elements about running a business that have to be dialed in for the whole thing to work, right?
Yeah.
It's not just...
I mean, life is filled with paths of decisions. We make decisions every single day, right? I don't believe in making the wrong decision. You, at least in a personal level, you learn from that. But when it comes to businesses, I do believe in making the wrong decision. You can make a decision that's going to be catastrophic to your business potentially. So I think by working with us, we're helping them make the more wise decision for the future of their company. But I think when we're able to vet the right 3PLs and help accomplish the vision of the brand, then they can focus on whatever's important to them.
That's a good point of view. I mean, we've talked about the founder's law and what they get out of it. And we touched a little bit on like, the satisfaction of providing employment for people and them creating lives and livelihoods for themselves. And yeah, really the work that we do with the founders of both the 3PLs and the brands, again, both of those organizations have employees, they have lives, those are real people that are really impacted by the wrong decision. So
we're offering a more cost-effective way to go through the RFP process of selecting a 3PL fulfillment, warehousing and fulfillment provider for these companies. Whether you're shipping hazmat liquid drums or you're shipping, massage guns directly to consumers, there's very specific nuances to both of those. And we've started the vetting process, or we've already done the vetting process of selecting these 3PL providers that are going to be a good fit. So we walk side by side with these brands and walk them through the request. I keep saying RFP, but request for proposal, or RFQ, request for quotes, and really help them through the selection process. So we get multiple proposals from the 3PL, and then we present them to the brand and give them, marketing material, proposals, pictures of the facility, and help the brand choose a 3PL operator that's good for their fit.
Yeah, I think a brand owner that is considering a change in fulfillment operations has a couple different paths that they could go down. They could do a quick Google search and put 3PL near me, call the first one closest to them and sign up, right? That's very real. That would be like the most time effective way of securing a new 3PL partner. Is that relationship going to work out? Who knows? Or a business owner could spend a few weeks or a few months potentially doing more extensive research and say, okay, maybe I don't need them near me. Maybe I want them here because that's where my customers are. Now I'm going to call 5 in that area. I'm going to wait to hear back from them. And so now I'm going to engage in this longer vetting process. So this change is going to cost time, and it's going to cost money. We acknowledge that. So our solution is one that can save time and money. Right? And a third solution would be, I'm going to go out and hire a firm to do the RFP process for me. I'm going to spend tens of thousands of dollars potentially for them to do the legwork, get the RFP drafted, send it out, get rates back, consolidate that, present it to me. Like, it's this whole rigmarole to go through. And our solution is better, frankly. One, it reduces the time that it takes while increasing the likelihood of it being a successful relationship. So that's the first two ones. And ideally align with the best cultural fit and 3PL that specializes in what you need.
Our 3PL partners provide a number of different services. You've got your D2C, you've got your B2B, you've got your bulk storage, you've got your project-based services, you've got your long-term services, whether it be handling high volume SKUs going in and out pretty rapidly, or whether it be just long-term storage needs. It's anything and everything in between. That's why we're working with specialized 3PLs that have different niches in every market across North America. With that flexibility and capability, we're able to cater to a lot of different brands based on their need and what they're looking for.
You got hazmat, you got temp control, you've got ISO certifications.
Yeah, I was going to say specifically for cosmetics, you have temperature control for lipstick that can't get above 80 degrees. You have medical devices that need ISO certifications. You have all these complexities and these niche commodities that takes a very specific 3PL operator to be able to handle that. And we've already done that process.
Chocolate that has to be stored and shipped at certain
chocolate needs to be 45 to 60 degrees, and the humidity has to be at a certain level, otherwise the chocolate turns white. Yeah, medical devices, you need your ISO certifications. If you're doing medical grade pharmaceuticals, you need your DEA certification. If you're doing food grade, you need your AIB certifications or an FDA certifications,
DME certifications.
Well, when it comes to medical devices, there's so many rules and regulations that the 3PL needs to uphold, and that comes with the certifications, but it also comes with a different level of quality. And just because you have the certifications doesn't necessarily mean that you can handle that commodity.
It's really the vetting process that sets it apart. Like Jordan referred to earlier, you can have a number of different certifications. You can have a number of different capabilities. But do you specialize in that industry-specific commodity that the brand has? Do you specialize in handling medical-grade equipment? Do you specialize in handling pharmaceuticals? Just because you have the certification doesn't mean that you specialize in that type of product. It just means you're capable of handling that type of product. So I think what you're talking about, a lot of 3PLs are very good about announcing their capabilities and communicating that effectively, but our vetting process allows us to do a deeper dive than what typically meets the eye, and it allows us to actually narrow down what their specific niche is and what they specialize in.
And again, that's the value. A 3PL, if you could talk to them directly, would never tell you, hey, we just got this certification. You're going to be customer one. We're probably going to mess some stuff up while we figure this out. I hope you're okay with it. No 3PL is going to tell a brand that. To Jordan's point earlier, they're going to have salespeople be like, oh, yeah, we can do that. Of course, yeah, we do that every day. We do that in our sleep. It may or may not be true. And then you have to find out about that later once they get your product in their warehouse.
So for medical devices, they have expiration and batch. And just because you have a certification that says you can handle that, they might not have the technology or the software in place to be able to do inventory based on batch. Maybe they can only do it at the SKU level. So when you have hospitals that are ordering certain types of batches and it needs to be tracked from inbound to outbound, they're not able to do that. In the warehouse management system, some 3PL operators are not able to do batch codes or lot code tracking. So we go through the process and we confirm that they're able to do all of these capabilities prior to even thinking about if they're a solution for that medical device company.
Yeah. A lot of companies do research on 3PLs based on certain certifications. They don't think of a lot of the operational nuances, like Jordan just touched on a few of those. Us knowing operations, us dealing with these requirements day in and day out, us having that operational knowledge to be able to know what the brand needs gives us a really big advantage on being able to help a brand and knowing exactly what they need just based on their product type and their operation.
Supplements is a good example too. They have expiration dates. So it's called FIFO, first expiration, first out. So that needs to be tracked in the software based on the expiration date. You can't have products sitting there that's a year and a half old because now it's not sellable and that's lost inventory. So you need to have a 3PL operator that can track that effectively and then ship it out first expiration first. With more volume and more SKUs comes more complexities. So you can reach out to an enterprise type 3PL and they can, again, you're just because you have a big brand, I still think you're just going to be another number. But we've found that sweet spot into finding the 3PL operators that have the good tech stack and have the good operations and give you the customer service that you need. With that many orders, 100,000 orders plus, the staffing alone during peak season is almost near impossible to manage. And we found great success with our operators that can manage it in a way where your volume isn't sacrificed.
So I think it's more so our goal is to not only find the best 3PL match, it's to help the brand work more efficiently on the operational end as well. Give an example, we work with a brand that does roughly 1.2 to 1.3 million orders a year. They want a New Jersey location, found the perfect 3PL partner, they hit it off. But one of the key things that set apart the process with us is that we actually went through a step-by-step process of how they were batching and picking orders currently with their 3PL they were with. And in doing so, the 3PL partner and ourselves partnered and showed them real live time in their WMS system how they could actually batch these orders and pick them a little bit more efficiently. So that right there allowed the partner to see that, okay, these guys are actually operational, I want to say gurus, but they're smart. They know what they're doing. So actually going a little bit step further and helping the brand to be able to find operational efficiencies that they could do to improve upon is just really key when it comes to the process.
Thank you so much for watching. If you're serious about finding the right fulfillment partner, we're here to help. We've already vetted over 150 warehouses, and we've matched hundreds of growing brands to these partners who now feel like an extension of their own team. If you want us to show you the best match for your brand, just fill out the form or give us a call if that's easier for you. You'll talk to someone who knows fulfillment, not a salesperson. We really look forward to getting to know you, your brand, and your overall business and seeing how we can help. Have a great day.